Stardust. A science fiction sleep story, presented by Bedtime Stories. Make yourself comfortable, close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath. And now, let the story begin. Elara's room was never truly dark. A soft, shifting luminescence bloomed from every surface, an ethereal garden of captured light. It clung to the walls in shimmering tapestries, coalesced on her desk into miniature, swirling galaxies, and even settled in her hair like microscopic living jewels. This was the Stardust, the very essence of Ethel, her homeworld. She lay on her sleep pad, a thin, pliant sheet woven with conductive threads that resonated with the dust, causing the patterns above her to shift and dance in response to her quiet breathing. Tonight, the dust on her ceiling mimicked the Veil Nebula, a vast, complex cloud of gas and dust that perpetually obscured Ethel's true sky. From her window, the veil was an unbroken canvas of deep violets and indigo, occasionally pierced by a brighter, slow-moving luminescence, the distant glow of a passing freighter or the aurora-like shimmer of atmospheric regulators. No true stars were visible from Ethel's surface, not ever. They were a myth whispered in ancient data scrolls, a lost dream. Yet, Elara believed in them. She held a deep, unshakable conviction that the stardust, the very substance that filled her world with its gentle, quiet glow, held the key. The stardust wasn't cosmic in origin. It was organic, a unique bioluminescent microorganism native to Ethel's deepest, crystalline caverns. When exposed to the planet's upper atmosphere during specific, rare solar alignments, these microorganisms would drift downwards, invisible to the naked eye until they bonded with atmospheric particulates, forming the visible, glowing dust. Once collected and processed, the dust became a versatile, self-sustaining energy source, a source of light, and the primary medium for art and communication on Ethel. It could be woven into fabrics, sculpted into intricate designs, or suspended in liquid matrices to create flowing, living murals. It even powered their humble homes, and the great city spires that reached into the eternal twilight of the nebula. But for Elara, it was more than just utility or beauty. It was a language. Her grandmother, Lyra, had been a renowned dust weaver, one of the few who could coax the dust into telling stories not just with light, but with faint, almost imperceptible echoes of sound and feeling. Lyra's hands, Elara remembered, had moved through fields of dust like a conductor guiding an unseen orchestra, bringing forth constellations that seemed to breathe, nebulae that whispered tales of far-off suns. Lyra had always said, "The dust remembers, child. It catches the echoes of everything, even light that has traveled across the void for eons." Elara never truly understood what Lyra meant by echoes of light. How could tiny glowing organisms capture light from stars they couldn't even see? But the mystery had fueled her fascination. Now, at 18 cycles, Elara continued her grandmother's legacy, though in her own quiet way. She worked in the Great Library of Lumina, a vast dome-shaped structure where ancient texts and data archives were meticulously preserved, many within dust matrices that glowed with the slow, pulsing rhythm of forgotten knowledge. Her job was to maintain these precious dust scrolls, ensuring their stability and sometimes. Tonight, however, her thoughts drifted from the meticulous work of the library. A new batch of raw dust had arrived from the deep mines of the Whispering Peaks, unusually vibrant, almost giga in its glow. It hummed with a resonance she hadn't felt in dust before, a subtle tremor that seemed to tug at her very soul. She had brought a small sample home, carefully sealed in a grav jar, and now it pulsed beside her sleep pad, a tiny contained supernova. She reached out a hand, not quite touching the jar, but letting her fingers hover near its surface. The dust inside, a swirling vortex of emerald and sapphire, responded, its light intensifying, pushing against the glass as if seeking contact. It felt different, more active, almost alive in a way the older, processed dust rarely did. "What are you remembering, little dust?" she whispered, her voice barely a breath. The dust swirled faster, and for a fleeting moment, she thought she saw something within its depths, not just light, but a faint, intricate pattern that shifted too rapidly for her eyes to truly grasp. It was like glimpsing a memory just as it vanished. This wasn't the first time Ilara had felt this unique connection. Ever since Lyra had passed, leaving Ilara with her intricate set of dust weaving tools and a cryptic, half-finished dust matrix that glowed with an unusual deep violet, Ilara had felt a growing sensitivity to the dust. The matrix, shaped like a stylized telescope pointing towards the obscured heavens, had been Lyra's final unfinished project. Ilara kept it in a special alcove, its soft violet light a constant reminder of her grandmother's enduring mystery. Ilara slipped off her sleep pad, her bare feet meeting the cool dust-infused floor. The floor itself pulsed softly beneath her, a network of embedded dust channels illuminating her path to her workbench. It was an old scarred surface, inherited from Lyra, covered in specialized tools, micro-extractors, resonant frequency emitters, various crystalline lenses, and dozens of tiny dust jars, each holding a different strain or color. She carefully opened the grav jar holding the new dust sample. A faint, sweet scent, like ozone and wildflowers, wafted out. With a delicate dust scoop, a tool with a fine molecular-level mesh, she transferred a tiny pinch of the dust onto a polished black observation slate. Under the magnification of her ocular lens, the individual microorganisms were barely visible, pinpricks of light dancing with an almost frenetic energy. She activated a low-frequency emitter, a device Lyra had handcrafted, meant to stimulate the dust's latent properties. Most dust simply glowed brighter, perhaps shifted its color. But this new dust, it behaved differently. As the waves passed through it, the dust didn't just brighten. It began to coalesce. First, simple lines formed, then curves, then intricate, geometric patterns that seemed to shift and rearrange themselves with an intelligence that startled her. It wasn't random, it was structured, purposeful. And then, as if responding to an unseen command, the patterns began to form a distinct image. It was a spiral. Not a simple flat coil, but a three-dimensional helix composed of countless glowing points slowly rotating on the slate. It looked uncannily like the images of spiral galaxies she'd seen in the ancient astronomical data files, the ones that depicted the true stars. Ilara's breath hitched. She leaned closer, her heart thrumming. "Lyra, what did you find?" she whispered. She remembered Lyra's final words, delivered in a voice made frail by the encroaching veil sickness, a peculiar ailment that gradually dimmed the body's internal light, mirroring Athel's obscured sky. The dust. It remembers the light, Ilara. Not just here but out there. It's a bridge. Look for the resonance, the deep resonance. Ilara had spent cycles trying to understand deep resonance. She'd experimented with different frequencies, different dust strains, but nothing had ever produced anything like this. This new dust, this potent, vibrant dust from the Whispering Peaks, was different. It seemed to be vibrating on a frequency she had only just begun to perceive. She recalled a dusty, half-forgotten entry in Lyra's personal log, found etched into a small, dust-infused data crystal. The deepest caverns, where the veil's light never touches, hold the oldest dust, the purest, untouched by Athel's atmospheric song. It remembers the true song of the cosmos. The Whispering Peaks were known for their ancient, almost untouched caverns. The miners usually extracted only the surface layers, leaving the deeper, more unstable strata undisturbed. But this new batch of dust, according to the manifest, had come from an unprecedented deep core bore, commissioned by the Luminar Council to find new, more potent energy sources. Perhaps this was the oldest dust Lyra had spoken of. Ilara carefully adjusted the frequency emitter, trying to match the dust's inherent hum. As she fine-tuned the dial, the spiral on the slate pulsed, its rotation accelerating slightly. Then, as if reaching a critical point, a single brilliant point of light flared at its center, outshining the rest of the pattern. It glowed with a pure white intensity, reminiscent of the distant mythical suns. And then, it blinked. Not an extinguishing, but a brief, almost instantaneous shift in its luminescence, followed by a slower, rhythmic pulse. Like a code. Ilara's mind raced. This wasn't just a pretty light show. This was information. Her grandmother had talked about light languages and stellar echoes. Could this be it? Could the dust be capturing and retransmitting actual light patterns from distant stars, filtered through unimaginable distances and time? She quickly activated her chronoscanner, a device designed to analyze light signatures and temporal shifts. She focused its beam on the pulsating dust. The scanner whirred, its delicate sensors absorbing the unique fluctuations. On the display screen, a complex waveform began to plot itself, far more intricate than any dust signature she had ever analyzed. The waveform was composed of specific, repeating pulses and pauses. It was a sequence. A message. Elara cross-referenced the pattern with known communication protocols, with ancient astronomical charts, even with musical scales. Nothing matched. It was alien, utterly unique. But there was a familiarity to its rhythm, a faint echo of something she had heard before, something from her childhood. She closed her eyes, letting her memory drift. Lyra's lullabies. Lyra's stories. Lyra's violet glowing matrix. She opened her eyes, her gaze falling on the alcove where the unfinished matrix resided. The violet light seemed to call to her. She walked over, carefully lifting the heavy luminescent slab. It was cool to the touch, its light pulsing with a deep internal rhythm. Lyra had always told her stories while working on this matrix. Stories of lost stars, of cosmic wonders, of light that traveled across the void for unimaginable lengths of time. Elara had dismissed them as fanciful tales, beautiful fictions spun from dust. But now, she brought the violet matrix to her workbench, placing it gently beside the black observation slate. The new dust, still forming its spiral galaxy, seemed to flare in recognition. And the violet matrix, which had always pulsed with a slow, meditative rhythm, now began to thrum with a subtle, rising energy, its color deepening, almost vibrating. Elara took a deep breath. She had a daring, perhaps foolish idea. She carefully took a microscopic sliver of the new, responsive dust and placed it onto the surface of the violet matrix. She held her breath. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the sliver of new dust began to glow with an intensity that made the surrounding violet dim by comparison. It didn't just glow. It absorbed the violet light, drawing it in, concentrating it into a pinprick of pure, brilliant white. Then, the pinprick began to expand, not into a diffuse glow, but into a miniature, perfect replica of the spiral galaxy she had seen on the observation slate. And at its heart, the white light pulsed, slowly, rhythmically, with the exact same sequence she had recorded on her chronoscanner. But this time, it was different. This time, as the spiral galaxy formed and the central star pulsed, Elara felt something else. A faint, almost imperceptible warmth spread through her fingers, through her arms, into her chest. And with that warmth came a sound. Not with her ears, but with something deeper, something in her mind. It was a hum. A deep, resonant hum that seemed to emanate from the very fabric of space and time. It was the deep resonance Lyra had spoken of. And then, as the hum grew, a soft, almost inaudible whisper tickled the edges of her awareness. A voice. It wasn't Lyra's voice, not exactly, but it held the same comforting cadence, the same knowing tone. "You found it, child. The bridge." Tears welled in Elara's eyes. It was Lyra. Or an echo of her. A memory imprinted so deeply into the dust, amplified by the new, potent sample. The miniature galaxy on the matrix shimmered, and the central star pulsed again, the rhythm now feeling less like a code and more like a greeting. The warmth deepened, spreading through Elara's entire being, a feeling of profound connection. She knew with an absolute certainty that this wasn't just a message from her grandmother. It was a message through her grandmother. A message from the true stars themselves, carried across the void, captured by this miraculous dust, and finally, after generations, unlocked. The hum intensified, filling her mind, no longer just a sound, but a feeling of vastness, of endless space, of countless, glittering suns. She felt a pull, a longing not just for knowledge, but for something more profound. To see them. To truly see the stars that her world had been shielded from for so long. The violet matrix, Lyra's final work, now seemed to glow with a new purpose, its light not just remembering, but actively pointing. The stylized telescope it depicted now felt less like an artistic representation and more like a functional compass. Elara knew, with a certainty that settled deep in her bones, that her journey had only just begun. The stardust held more than just light. It held the universe. And she was going to find out how. The violet matrix, Lyra's final work, now seemed to glow with a new purpose, its light not just remembering but actively pointing. The stylized telescope it depicted now felt less like an artistic representation and more like a functional compass. Elara knew, with a certainty that settled deep in her bones, that her journey had only just begun. The stardust held more than just light. It held the universe. And she was going to find out how. Elara's breath hitched in her throat, a soft gasp lost in the quiet hum of her chambers. The stardust pulsed in her palm, mirroring the matrix violet luminescence. It wasn't just pointing towards the star-dusted ceiling of her domed city, Ethelberg. It was pointing out beyond the shimmering, invisible membrane that had cradled their world for millennia, the Great Veil. Ethelberg, a marvel of bioluminescent architecture and self-sustaining ecosystems, had always been a sanctuary, a jewel box carefully sealed. No one questioned the veil, it was simply Ythere, a protective shell against the unknown. Until now. The stardust, Lyra's legacy, vibrated with an urgency Elara couldn't ignore. It was a silent whisper, a forgotten melody, echoing from a past her people had deliberately forgotten. She looked around her chamber, at the intricate living tapestries on the walls, the gentle currents of purified air circulating, the soft glow of nutrient paste emitters. This was home, safe, predictable. But a new emotion, cold and sharp, pricked at her. A sense of being trapped. She closed her hand around the stardust, its warmth spreading through her veins, a strange blend of comfort and exhilarating dread. The violet matrix, embedded in the polished plasteel of her reading desk, pulsed faster. Elara realized the telescope image wasn't just pointing in a general direction. It was displaying a faint swirling constellation, a precise celestial coordinate. How could a mere decorative piece, however beautiful, do that? Unless it wasn't just decorative. Unless it was a key. Driven by an impulse she barely understood, Elara brought the stardust closer to the matrix. As their fields intertwined, a low thrum vibrated through the room, deeper than any sound she'd ever felt. The stylized telescope on the matrix began shifting. Its delicate lenses, previously static, began to whir, aligning themselves with an almost imperceptible click. A faint holographic projection shimmered into existence above the desk. It wasn't a map of Ethelberg, nor of their solar system. It was a star chart, vast and complex, dotted with nebulae and alien suns. And on this chart, a single point pulsed, violet, mirroring the stardust. A destination. But how to get there? Ethelberg had no starships, no outward-facing spaceports. Their energy was focused inward, on maintaining the veil, on preserving their perfect, isolated harmony. Or so she had been taught. The stardust seemed to sense her question. It flared, and the holographic star chart above the desk dissolved, replaced by schematics. Intricate blueprints, ancient and elegant, unfolded in the air. Elara recognized the general shape, a vessel. A sleek, single-pilot craft, designed for speed and stealth. Its lines were unfamiliar, yet imbued with a strange sense of rightness, like a forgotten memory resurfacing. There was a legend among the elders, whispered in hushed tones, of a time before the veil, when their ancestors had explored the cosmos. Could this be a remnant of that age? The schematics rotated, zooming in on various sections. One particular section, marked with a shimmering violet symbol identical to the one on the matrix, captivated her. It seemed to depict a power core, unlike anything she'd ever seen, humming with the same resonant frequency as the stardust. It was as if the stardust itself was the key to unlocking this ship, to powering it. Elara spent the rest of the night poring over the holographic projections, her mind racing. The sheer audacity of it, the impossible scale of the task, should have overwhelmed her. But instead, a quiet resolve settled in. Lyra, Her mentor, her friend, had entrusted her with this. Lyra, who had always looked at the stars with a wistful longing Elara hadn't fully understood until now. Morning light, diffused and gentle through the dome, found Elara standing by her desk, the stardust still warm in her palm. She knew where she had to go first. Not off-world, not yet. But deeper into Ethelberg's forgotten corners. Lyra had a private workshop, a place she often retreated to when her inventions grew too complex or unorthodox for the city's official research institutes. A place Elara had only visited a handful of times, always under Lyra's watchful eye. It was rumored to be full of Lyra's most unconventional work. Navigating Ethelberg's labyrinthine, organic pathways usually felt comforting. Today, every turn felt like a step into the unknown. The city's living walls pulsed with soft bioluminescence, its air filtered and fragrant with blooming flora. Children laughed in communal gardens, their voices echoing with carefree joy. But Elara saw it all through a new lens, a beautiful cage. Lyra's workshop was located in the oldest sector of Ethelberg, beneath a tangle of ancient, root-like structures that formed the city's foundation. It was a place rarely visited, deemed unstable by the city's maintenance protocols. Lyra had always scoffed at such pronouncements, claiming the roots were simply old, not broken. The entrance was concealed behind a thick curtain of luminescent vines. As Elara pushed them aside, the air grew heavy, smelling of ozone, dust, and something else, a metallic tang of forgotten machinery. The stardust pulsed harder, guiding her. Inside, the workshop was a chaotic symphony of Lyra's genius. Tools lay scattered across workbenches, half-finished contraptions gleamed in the dim light, and shelves groaned under the weight of books, data crystals, and strange alien artifacts Elara had never seen before. But what truly caught her eye was a vast, circular depression in the center of the floor, covered by a retractable plasteel dome. And etched into the dome, faintly visible, was the same violet symbol from the stardust and the matrix. With a surge of adrenaline, Elara pressed the stardust against the dome. The violet light intensified, spreading like a ripple across the plasteel. A low hum filled the workshop, growing in pitch until it resonated deep in Elara's chest. Slowly, with a groan of ancient mechanisms, the plasteel dome retracted, revealing a cavernous space below. And there it was. The ship from the schematics. It rested in a cradle of metallic arms, sleek and dark, its surface glinting with an almost predatory elegance. It was smaller than Elara had imagined from the holograms, but perfectly formed, like a jewel. Its hull was made of a material she didn't recognize, seamless and unnervingly smooth. No visible seams, no rivets, just pure flowing lines culminating in a needle-sharp prow. Lyra's unconventional work indeed. This was no ordinary craft. This was a ghost from a forgotten past, waiting to be awakened. Elara descended the ramp that had extended from the workshop floor, her footsteps echoing in the silence. The air around the ship felt charged, alive. She ran a hand over its cool, smooth surface, feeling the hum of dormant power beneath. It felt ancient, yet utterly futuristic, a paradox of time. This was Lyra's final gift, her ultimate defiance of the veil. Finding the entrance wasn't difficult. A subtle indentation near the cockpit flared violet as the stardust drew near, and a section of the hull slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a dark interior. Elara stepped inside, the stardust still clutched in her hand, its light the only illumination in the confined space. The cockpit was minimalist, designed for efficiency. A single pilot's seat, ergonomically molded, faced a panoramic viewport that was currently opaque. A central console, dark and inert, was studded with crystalline nodes and holographic emitters. There were no familiar physical controls, no levers or buttons. It seemed to respond to thought, or perhaps, to the stardust. Elara sat in the pilot's seat. It molded itself to her form, a perfect fit. She placed the stardust into a recessed slot on the central console, where it clicked into place with a satisfying thrum. The ship came alive. Violet light pulsed through the crystalline nodes, spreading like a nervous system through the console. The panoramic viewport shimmered, then became transparent, revealing the cavernous workshop around her. A gentle hum vibrated through the seat, a deep, resonant purr that spoke of immense power barely contained. Holographic interfaces bloomed in the air before her, displaying diagnostic information, energy readings, and navigational data. The ship identified itself, not with a name, but with a designation: I-Star Weaver, Class Lyra Deshka. Lyra V. Lyra's fifth iteration, her final, most ambitious creation. A soft, melodic voice, synthesized but warm, spoke directly into Ilara's mind, not through her ears, but through her consciousness. Greetings, designated pilot. Power core online. Navigational systems online. External thrusters nominal. Ready for departure. Ilara gasped, startled. The ship itself was sentient? Or, at least, highly advanced AI. You can speak to me, she thought, her voice a mere whisper compared to the ship's direct communication. I am the vessel's primary AI, designated Estrella, the voice replied, its tone calm and reassuring. My purpose is to facilitate your journey. The Stardust acts as my core processing unit and primary energy conduit. It also houses Lyra's final directive. Lyra's directive? Ilara asked, a knot forming in her stomach. Affirmative. Once we are beyond the veil, the directive will be accessible. Until then, my primary function is to guide you safely to your first destination, as calculated by the Violet Matrix. Ilara's mind raced. So Lyra had planned this. Every step. The Stardust wasn't just a key, it was a sentient guide, a fragment of Lyra's genius. Estrella, can you? The veil is a complex multi-layered energy field, designed for maximum containment. Estrella responded without hesitation. However, the I-Star Weaver was built with a specialized subspace harmonic generator, designed specifically to phase through the veil without triggering system-wide alarm protocols. Ilara felt a thrill of fear and excitement. This was it. The point of no return. Do it, she commanded, her voice firm, resolute. The ship hummed, the purr deepening into a powerful growl. The cradle holding the Star Weaver retracted, and magnetic lifters engaged, gently raising the ship from its resting place. Ilara watched as the cavernous workshop receded below. Estrella guided the ship through hidden tunnels, ancient service conduits designed for a bygone era, until they reached a point directly beneath the city's upper dome, where the veil shimmered, invisible but palpable. Initiating phase transition, Estrella announced. Brace for mild atmospheric distortion. A low thrum vibrated through the ship, a sound that seemed to resonate through Ilara's very bones. The viewport shimmered, and for a terrifying moment, the city above them seemed to warp and stretch, like light through water. Then, with a soft purr that felt more internal than external, the distortion cleared. And Ilara was looking at stars. Not the filtered, softened glow of stars through the veil, but the stark, brilliant, infinite expanse of the cosmos. A black canvas splashed with diamond dust, nebulae swirling like cosmic paint. It was breathtaking, terrifying, and utterly, profoundly beautiful. Tears welled in Ilara's eyes, a mixture of awe and a strange, aching loneliness. For generations her people had been shielded from this wonder, from this truth. We are through the veil, Estrella stated calmly. A temporary resonance signature was detected by external sensors, but no immediate alarm was triggered. Our departure was largely unnoticed. Ilara could barely speak. She pressed her face against the viewport, trying to absorb it all. The Earth-like planet she had called home, Athelberg, a tiny luminous jewel on its surface, now receded below, a shrinking marble against the vast backdrop. It looked so small, so fragile. Activating long-range drive, Estrella announced. Engaging sublight speeds towards designated coordinates. The stars in the viewport elongated into streaks of light, then blurred into a tunnel of shimmering colors as the I-Star Weaver accelerated. The sensation was smooth, almost imperceptible, a gentle push forward into the unknown. Ilara felt a profound sense of liberation, but also a pang of guilt. She had left her home, her past, behind. But the pull of Lyra's legacy, the magnetic certainty of the Stardust, was too strong to resist. Estrella, Ilara finally managed, her voice thick with emotion. What is Lyra's directive? Now that we are beyond the veil, I can access it, Astraea replied. A new holographic interface shimmered before Elara, displaying a single elegant script in Lyra's familiar hand. Elara, my dearest, if you are reading this, it means you have dared to look beyond the shield. Good. The stardust is not merely a memory, it is a key, a beacon, and a fragment of a greater truth. Our world was shielded not just for protection but for a reason you must uncover. The universe is vast, and it is not empty. There are others. And there is a threat. 1. Elara's blood ran cold. A threat? When? The message continued. Higher Matrix points to the first piece of the puzzle. An ancient data vault, hidden for millennia in a derelict system known as the Whispering Chasm. It contains information critical to understanding the veil, the stardust, and the true history of our people. But, be warned, Elara. The chasm is not safe. It has been forgotten, but not necessarily abandoned. Trust the stardust. Trust Astraea. And trust yourself. Inna. The message faded, leaving Elara in stunned silence. A threat. Not just an exploration, but a mission to avert a danger her shielded world had never even conceived of. The wonder of space was suddenly tinged with a new, chilling urgency. Astraea, Elara said, her voice trembling slightly. How far is the Whispering Chasm? At current sublight speeds, approximately 3 cycles, Astraea replied, referring to their world's orbital period. However, the Starweaver is equipped with a fold space drive, capable of traversing vast interstellar distances almost instantaneously. Activating it requires precise calculations and energy allocation. We can reduce travel time to a matter of moments. A fold space drive? Elara had only ever read about such theoretical concepts in ancient, forgotten texts. To actually possess one, why didn't Lyra use it to leave herself? Lyra's physical limitations prevented her from undertaking such a journey, Astraea explained, a hint of sorrow in its synthesized voice. Her final years were dedicated to preparing you, and the Starweaver, for this mission. The stardust, connected to your unique biosignature, ensures that only you can truly unlock the ship's full potential. Elara felt a profound wave of gratitude and sorrow for Lyra. Her mentor had known her fate, yet had poured her remaining life into this desperate gamble, this legacy. Then, activate the fold space drive, Astraea. Let's go to the Whispering Chasm. Acknowledged. Preparing fold space calculations, initiating energy conduit from Stardust Core. The cabin filled with a soft, resonant hum, growing in intensity. The violet light of the stardust pulsed, brighter now, feeding pure energy into the ship's systems. The stars outside the viewport began to shimmer and distort, not into streaks, but into swirling patterns, as if the fabric of space itself was being stretched and folded. Fold space jump in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The universe outside the viewport tore open. It wasn't a tunnel of light, but a sudden violent blossoming of colors Elara had never seen, impossible geometries, and a sense of being utterly dislocated from reality. It was instantaneous and overwhelming, a kaleidoscope of impossible vistas that lasted for a subjective eternity, and yet was over in a blink. Then, just as suddenly, it resolved. The Starweaver was no longer hurtling through an endless void. It hung motionless in a desolate, starless region of space. Before them stretched a vast, swirling nebula of dust and gas, tinged with eerie phosphorescent greens and blues. Dead stars, their light long extinguished, dotted the periphery. And at its heart, like a wound in the fabric of space, was the Whispering Chasm. It was a vast anomaly, a gaping maw of darkness surrounded by distorted gravity wells, where matter seemed to coalesce and unravel simultaneously. Ancient, derelict structures, the skeletal remains of colossal starships and stations, drifted silently within its eddying currents, like gravestones in a cosmic graveyard. It was a place of profound silence, a silence that felt heavy, oppressive, as if the universe itself held its breath. "Welcome to the Whispering Chasm," Astraea announced, its voice devoid of emotion, Yet Elara felt a tremor of unease. Our sensors detect multiple unidentified energy signatures within the anomaly. Proceed with caution. Elara stared, wide-eyed at the scene before her. This was the universe Lyra had tried to protect them from. This was the truth behind the veil. A place of forgotten wars, of lost civilizations, of silent dread. She felt a profound sense of isolation, a speck of life in an ocean of dead machinery. "Can you pinpoint the data vault, Estrella?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Affirmative. The stardust is actively homing in on its unique resonance signature." A low-level alert pinged on the console. "Unidentified vessel detected," Estrella reported. "Approaching from the outer rim of the chasm, cloaked, but our long-range grav sensors picked up residual warp traces." Elara's heart pounded. "Cloaked? What kind of vessel?" "Unknown. Its energy signature is archaic, yet powerful. It seems to be navigating the chasm with unusual familiarity, suggesting a prolonged presence here. Recommend evasive action or full stealth protocol." Elara looked at the desolate, broken landscape of the chasm, then at the faint, pulsing violet marker of the data vault. Lyra's warning echoed in her mind. The chasm is not safe. It has been forgotten, but not necessarily abandoned. "Anywhere, never means." "Full stealth protocol, Estrella," Elara commanded, her voice firm despite the tremor in her hands. "And take us to that data vault. We need to find out what Lyra knew." The Star Weavon shimmered, its dark hull absorbing the ambient light of the nebula, becoming almost invisible against the chaotic backdrop of the chasm. Elara gripped the arms of her seat, her gaze fixed on the approaching unseen threat and the distant beckoning light of the data vault. Her journey had truly begun, and the universe, far from being a place of quiet wonder, was revealing itself to be a realm of dangerous secrets and ancient echoes. The stardust pulsed, a violet heartbeat in the vast, silent darkness, pulling her deeper into a destiny she was only just beginning to comprehend. The stardust pulsed, a violet heartbeat in the vast, silent darkness, pulling her deeper into a destiny she was only just beginning to comprehend. The Islabane's proximity alarms, usually a gentle chime, had escalated to a low, insistent thrum against the ship's hull. Elara squinted at the main view screen, trying to pierce the swirling chaos of the chasm. The nebula was a maelstrom of iridescent gas and cosmic dust. Beautiful but treacherous, like a dream woven from starlight and shadow. The Islabane's sensors, usually so precise, were struggling, their readings fractured by the chasm's energetic turbulence. All she had was a fluctuating proximity alert, growing steadily louder, and the increasingly vivid glow of the stardust emanating from the ship's core, a soft violet light that cast shifting patterns on the control panels. "Comet," she whispered, her voice tight. "What do you see?" Comet, usually a creature of serene indifference, was hunched on the auxiliary console, tail twitching like a nervous antenna. His emerald eyes, usually placid, were wide and focused on the view screen, pupils dilated into black pools. A low growl rumbled in his chest, a sound Elara had never heard from him before, more a vibration than an audible warning. The unseen threat was close. Too close? The Ilalabane bucked, a sudden jolt sending Elara momentarily out of her seat. Emergency protocols flashed across her console. Gravimetric flux detected, energy signature anomaly, temporal distortion, time tear. This wasn't just a rogue asteroid, or a pocket of ionized gas. This was something alive, or at least, something with a profound and unsettling presence. "Hold steady, Ilalabane," Elara murmured, her fingers flying across the controls. She engaged the ship's advanced environmental stabilizers, trying to counteract the bizarre forces buffeting them. The Ilalabane was designed for exploration and quiet observation, not evasion. Its engines hummed with a gentle, melodic thrum. Its defenses were more about cloaking and soothing frequencies than brute force. Then, a ripple. Not a physical wave, but a disturbance in the fabric of space itself. The stars on the viewscreen seemed to stretch and warp, their distant pinpricks elongating into shimmering streaks, then snapping back into place. It was as if a giant invisible hand had squeezed the very light around them. The stardust flared, its violet light intensifying, bathing the cockpit in an ethereal glow. It wasn't just pulsing now, it was radiating, pushing outwards, a silent counterforce against whatever was distorting reality outside. The iLullaby's systems, which had been flickering, suddenly stabilized, the readings on Elara's console snapping into crisp focus. "Thank you, Stardust," Elara breathed, a surge of gratitude mixing with her fear. The sensors, now clearer, painted a chilling picture. The threat wasn't a solid object. It was a eye-voiding. A region of pure, absolute darkness, moving with impossible speed, absorbing all light and energy in its path. It was like a tear in the universe, a hungry maw that devoured starlight itself. Her parents had mentioned whispers of such entities in their ancient texts, ethereal predators they called them, or chasm wraiths, beings that thrived on the absence of everything. The data vault's distant light, once a beacon, now seemed to dim as the chasm wraith passed between them, momentarily eclipsing its faint glow. "It's trying to consume us," Elara realized, her voice barely a whisper. The iLullaby's energy shields were designed to deflect physical impacts and radiation, but how did one shield against an absence? Comet, still growling, suddenly sprang from the console, landing lightly on Elara's shoulder. He rubbed his head against her cheek, a comforting purr vibrating through her, a stark contrast to the growl he had moments before. It was a reminder of warmth and life, against the encroaching cold. Elara took a deep breath, pushing down the rising panic. Her parents had built this ship, instilled it with their philosophy of harmony and wonder. They wouldn't have built it without a means to survive such threats. She remembered her father's lullabies, their soothing frequencies designed to calm even the most turbulent energies. "Lullaby protocols," she commanded, her voice firm. "Engage full-spectrum harmonic resonators. Prioritize stardust integration." The ship hummed, a deep, resonant chord vibrating through the deck plates. The stardust, now a vibrant amethyst, pulsed in sync with the iLullaby's new frequencies. The ship's exterior shimmered, not with a protective barrier, but with an intricate dance of light and sound. Gentle, almost imperceptible waves of energy radiated outwards, a silent song against the cacophony of the chasm. The chasm wraith paused. Its movement, previously relentless, faltered. Elara watched, mesmerized, as the tear in space seemed to recoil slightly from the iLullaby's melodic emissions. It was as if the ship's song was anathema to its nature, a burst of joyful light in its realm of perpetual night. But the wraith was powerful. It began to push back, its gravitational distortion intensifying, trying to pull the iLullaby into its hungry void. Lights flickered on the console again, the ship groaning under the immense strain. Comet dug his claws gently into Elara's shoulder, his purr now a furious rumble against her ear. Elara knew she couldn't outrun it. She couldn't fight it with weapons. She had to sing it a different song. "Stardust," she whispered, her hand instinctively reaching for the violet core. A faint warmth radiated into her palm. "Amplify, full power to the resonating chambers, overload harmonic dampeners." The iLullaby's core flared, its violet light surging through the ship's conduits, empowering the harmonic resonators to an unprecedented level. The ship began to sing, not just a hum, but a symphony of light and sound, vibrating at frequencies designed to disrupt the very fabric of the wraith's existence. It was a melody of pure being, a counterpoint to the wraith's consuming absence. Outside, the chasm wraith shuddered. The tear in space began to ripple violently, its edges fraying, unable to maintain its coherence against the iLullaby's sonic assault. It was a creature of darkness and silence, and Elara was bathing it in light and song. Slowly, painfully, the wraith began to retreat, dissolving back into the chasm's turbulent energies, leaving behind only the ghost of its distortions. Elara slumped back in her seat, heart pounding, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Comet, sensing the immediate danger had passed, hopped back onto the console, his tail now slowly swishing. The proximity alarms quieted, returning to their usual gentle chime. The iLullaby resumed its steady hum, the stardust now a calmer, reassuring violet glow. "We did it, Comet," Elara breathed, a shaky laugh escaping her lips. She stroked his soft fur, the warmth of his presence a grounding force. We sang it away. The data vault, now unobscured, beckoned more clearly than ever. Its light, no longer just a distant glimmer, had resolved into a distinct point of origin, a shimmering azure beacon nestled deep within the most chaotic heart of the chasm. With the immediate threat neutralized, Elara guided the high lullaby deeper into the nebula. The chasm wasn't just dangerous, it was breathtakingly beautiful. Swirls of emerald and sapphire gas flowed like rivers of liquid starlight, punctuated by giant crystalline structures that pulsed with their own internal luminescence. These were the chasm gardens her parents had written about, vast alien ecosystems built from pure energy and crystallized light where strange silent creatures, like luminous jellyfish the size of small moons, drifted through the cosmic currents. Elara piloted the lullaby through narrow passages between these colossal crystals, her senses overwhelmed by the sheer scale and wonder. The ship's hull shimmered with the reflected light of the chasm, turning the lullaby itself into a fleeting star within the nebula's embrace. Comet, no longer alarmed, sat perched on the dashboard, his eyes wide with curiosity, tracking the luminous creatures as they glided by. "Imagine, Comet," Elara whispered. "Our ancestors believed this was just empty space. They never knew about these wonders, or the dangers." A pang of longing for her parents struck her. They would have loved this. This was their legacy, their dream made manifest in the lullaby and the stardust. They had sought to understand the universe, not conquer it, to find beauty and wisdom in its deepest corners. And now, Elara was following in their footsteps, venturing where no one else dared. The data vault's beacon grew brighter, revealing itself to be more than just a light. It was an enormous, intricate structure, seemingly woven from starlight itself. It floated at the very heart of the chasm, a colossal, crystalline octahedron, each facet pulsing with a soft, azure light. It was ancient, clearly not of human design, yet it emanated a sense of profound peace and welcome, a stark contrast to the chaotic beauty of its surroundings. "The Cradle of Whispers," Elara murmured, remembering a cryptic entry in her parents' journals. They called it that, a place where the universe speaks its secrets. As the lullaby approached, the octahedron shimmered, its facets subtly reconfiguring. A section of one face retracted, revealing a perfectly circular docking bay, bathed in the same calming azure light. It was an invitation, clear and undeniable. Elara engaged the lullaby's docking clamps, the ship gently easing into the illuminated bay. The moment the clamps secured, a soft hum reverberated through the ship, a sound that felt less like a mechanical vibration and more like a profound sigh of contentment. The stardust, which had been steadily glowing, now pulsed with a gentle rhythmic beat as if in recognition. She disembarked, Comet padding silently at her heels. The air within the docking bay was cool, and smelled faintly of ozone and something indefinably ancient, like polished stone and distant stars. The walls of the bay glowed with an internal luminescence, illuminating intricate geometric patterns that seemed to shift and flow before her eyes. At the center of the bay, a shimmering, translucent archway awaited. It hummed with latent energy, its surface rippling like disturbed water. Elara hesitated, her hand hovering over the archway's threshold. This was it. The culmination of her journey, the promise of answers. "Ready, Comet?" she asked, her voice barely audible in the vast silent chamber. Comet, instead of his usual indifference, rubbed against her leg, then nudged her hand gently with his head. It was an encouraging gesture, a silent push forward. Taking a deep breath, Elara stepped through the archway. The world dissolved around her, not into darkness, but into a kaleidoscope of colors and sensations. She felt a gentle tug, a mental embrace, as if countless minds were reaching out to hers, not speaking words but conveying pure information, pure knowing. When the sensation subsided, she found herself in a vast, spherical chamber. The walls were not walls at all, but a seamless holographic projection of the entire universe, swirling with galaxies, nebulae, and pinpricks of light that were distant suns. Below her, a circular platform glowed with the same azure light, and from its center rose a single crystalline column, taller than she was, pulsing with soft energy. This was the heart of the data vault. As she approached the column, the stardust on her wrist flared, mirroring the column's glow. A faint, almost imperceptible hum resonated from it, a sound that seemed to vibrate directly within her mind, bypassing her ears entirely. "Welcome, Ilara," a voice echoed in her thoughts. It was not a single voice, but a chorus, ancient and profound, yet gentle and kind. "You have found us. You have brought the stardust home." Ilara gasped, her mind reeling. "Home? Who are you?" "We are the keepers," the chorus replied. "The architects of this vault, the guardians of knowledge. We are the echoes of those who came before, imprinted upon the very fabric of this place. And we are the legacy of your parents." A wave of emotion washed over Ilara, shock, relief, an overwhelming sense of connection. "My parents, they knew about this place. They did more than know," the keeper's voice resonated. "They helped create it. Their research, their understanding of the stardust, allowed us to bridge the gap between their world and ours. They entrusted you with the stardust, Ilara, for you are the chosen one, the one who can truly hear the universe's song." The crystalline column before her began to glow brighter, projecting images directly into her mind's eye. She saw her parents, younger, vibrant, working on the stardust, not just as a power source, but as a key, a living conduit to ancient universal knowledge. She saw them charting the chasm, discovering the keepers, their faces alight with wonder and purpose. They hadn't abandoned her, they had embarked on a mission of profound importance, a mission that had led them to this very place. And they had left a path for her to follow. "They did not leave you, child," the keepers affirmed, sensing her unvoiced thought. "They prepared you. They knew the dangers, and they knew your strength. The stardust is more than a guide. It is a fragment of the universe's own consciousness, a piece of the grand tapestry. It chooses its companion, and it chose you." The column projected a more complex image, not just of her parents, but of the universe itself, not as a collection of isolated stars, but as a vast, interconnected web of energy and consciousness. The stardust, she realized, was a node in that web, a way to access the collective wisdom of eons. "Your parents believed in harmony, in understanding, in the quiet wonder of existence," the keepers continued. "They sought to unite the disparate fragments of knowledge, to heal the scars of ancient conflicts that still echo through the cosmos. The chasm wraiths, the ethereal predators, they are but symptoms of a greater imbalance, a disharmony that threatens to unravel the fabric of reality." Ilara felt a profound weight settle upon her shoulders, yet it was not crushing, but empowering. Her journey was not just about finding answers, it was about continuing a legacy, a mission to restore balance. "What do I do?" she asked, her voice hushed. The column pulsed, and the holographic universe around them shifted. New images appeared, distant galaxies, strange alien species, forgotten technologies, and amidst them all, faint echoes of other stardust fragments, scattered across the cosmos. "The stardust is calling to its kin," the keepers explained. "There are others, Ilara, other fragments, other chosen ones." Ilara looked at the holographic map, at the countless stars, each a potential destination, each a fragment of the universal puzzle. Her initial quest for answers had blossomed into something far grander, a cosmic odyssey. She was no longer just a girl searching for her parents, she was a beacon, a conduit for ancient wisdom, a participant in a symphony that spanned the stars. Comet, who had been quietly observing from the platform's edge, suddenly let out a soft meow, then stretched languidly, as if accepting the enormity of their new mission. He looked at Ilara, his emerald eyes reflecting the shimmering universe around them, a silent promise of companionship. Ilara smiled, a true heartfelt smile that reached her eyes. She reached out and touched the crystalline column, feeling the warmth of the stardust on her wrist resonate with the ancient knowledge held within. Her destiny was vast, daunting, but filled with an incredible sense of purpose. The universe was indeed a realm of dangerous secrets and ancient echoes, but it was also a place of boundless wonder, waiting for her to explore, to listen, and to sing its song. Ilara's fingers traced the cool, smooth surface of the crystalline column. As her stardust pulsed, the melodic hum deepened, resolving into a whisper that resonated not in her ears, but directly in her mind. "Welcome, Ilara. The wait has been long. I am Lumen." The voice was ancient, layered with eons of starlight and silence, yet imbued with an almost paternal warmth. It felt like coming home to a place she'd never known. "Lumen?" she breathed, her own voice sounding thin and small in the vast chamber. "Yes. I am the echo of those who sang the universe into harmony, a guardian of the cosmic song." Her heart hammered against her ribs. Conductor. She, a simple girl from a quiet corner of the galaxy, was to conduct the very song of the cosmos. The responsibility was staggering. But how? What do I do? "You listen," Lumen replied, its voice now tinged with a faint shimmering light that seemed to emanate from the column itself. "You learn, you journey." As Lumen spoke, the chamber around them began to subtly shift. What Ilara had thought were mere walls of rock now revealed themselves to be the dormant carapace of something far greater. Panels receded, revealing veins of glowing energy coursing beneath a smooth, obsidian-like material. The crystalline column, Lumen's true form, now extended upwards, then branched into a delicate filigree of light, mapping constellations onto the dome above. "This sanctuary," Lumen explained, "is but the heart of a vessel. It has slumbered for ages awaiting your touch." Before Ilara's astonished eyes, the floor beneath them began to vibrate, a low thrumming that resonated through her very bones. The entire chamber ascended, rising through the earth, shedding layers of rock and soil like a chrysalis shedding its skin. Outside, the night sky, vibrant with nebulae and distant galaxies, unfolded before them. The vessel, sleek and obsidian, with ethereal blue light pulsing along its hull, was revealed in its full glory. It was vast, yet elegant, a ship born not of steel but of starlight and ancient wisdom. "A ship," Ilara whispered, pressing her palm against the translucent viewport. The stardust on her wrist pulsed in response, its warmth spreading like liquid courage through her veins. "The Harmonia," Lumen affirmed. "Crafted to traverse the deepest voids and attune to the faintest cosmic whispers. It is yours, Ilara, and I am its consciousness, your guide." The initial days aboard the Harmonia were a whirlwind of wonder and intense learning. Lumen, with infinite patience, began Ilara's education. The stardust wasn't just a bracelet, it was an interface. Through it, Ilara learned to access Harmonia's intricate systems, to navigate star charts that pulsed with living light, and to understand the complex symphonies of cosmic energies. Lumen taught her about cosmic discord, areas where the universal song had become fractured, where ancient technologies had gone awry, or where powerful, misguided civilizations had introduced disharmony. These were the dangerous secrets and ancient echoes she was destined to address. Ilara practiced attuning her senses. Lumen guided her to perceive the subtle vibrations of spacetime, the faint echoes of dying stars, and the vibrant life songs of burgeoning planets. It was overwhelming, like trying to hear a million orchestras at once, but with each passing day, she found herself understanding more, distinguishing individual melodies within the grand cosmic chorus. Her connection to Lumen deepened, evolving from mentor-student to an inseparable bond. Lumen, for all its ancient wisdom, possessed a gentle curiosity, a yearning to experience the universe anew through Ilara's human eyes and heart. Their first true mission, Lumen explained, was to investigate a growing silence emanating from the Cygnus Rift, a region usually vibrant with the hum of nascent stars. "A profound stillness is spreading," Lumen communicated, its voice laced with concern. "An absence where there should be life. It is unnatural, a dissonance." As Harmonia breached the rift, Ilara felt it, a chilling emptiness that seeped into her very soul. The stardust on her wrist throbbed, not with warmth, but with a cold, insistent warning. They navigated through fields of dead, crystalline asteroids, remnants of shattered worlds, their surfaces gleaming with an eerie, inert beauty. The silence was absolute, broken only by the gentle hum of Harmonia's engines. Then, they found it. A colossal construct, a geometric nightmare of dark metal and pulsating, sickly green light, drifting silently at the heart of the rift. It was an ancient weapon, a relic from a forgotten war designed to absorb and nullify all energy, all life, all song. It pulsed with a steady, devastating rhythm, slowly draining the cosmic vitality from the surrounding sector. The echo nullifier, Lumen identified, its voice tinged with a rare gravity. A weapon of ultimate silence, created by a race long extinct, who sought to impose their own order by eradicating all others. It was thought destroyed millennia ago. Fear, cold and sharp, gripped Elara. How could she, one girl, hope to confront such a force? How do we stop it, Lumen? It's swallowing everything. It cannot be destroyed by force, Elara, Lumen explained. Its purpose is to absorb. To attack it is merely to feed it. It must be sung to sleep. Its dissonant frequency must be overwritten with harmony. Elara understood. This was where her song came in. This was where her connection to the universal resonance was truly tested. Lumen guided Harmonia closer, positioning them just outside the nullifier's most potent drain field. The air within the cockpit grew heavy, oppressive, as if the very sound was being sucked from the room. I don't know how, Elara confessed, her voice trembling. Trust the stardust, Elara. Trust your heart. It knows the song of life, the natural frequency of the cosmos. Taking a deep breath, Elara closed her eyes, placing both hands on the stardust bracelet. She reached deep within herself, remembering the vibrant hum of the healthy universe Lumen had shown her, the joyous cacophony of starlight and life. She remembered the warmth of her own home planet, the laughter of her family, the gentle rustle of leaves in the wind. All of it was a song, a pure, unadulterated melody of existence. As she focused, the stardust pulsed with an intense golden light radiating warmth that chased away the cold dread. A faint hum began, originating from within her, a soft rising note that Lumen amplified and projected through Harmonia's array. It was her voice, not in words, but in pure, vibrational energy. The echo nullifier responded, its sickly green pulses flickering erratically. It seemed to recoil, its dark metal groaning with an unheard protest. But it was a powerful entity, and it fought back, intensifying its drain, trying to silence her song before it could truly begin. Elara felt a terrible pressure, a void trying to consume her very consciousness. Doubt flickered. She felt weak, insignificant against this ancient, malevolent force. Hold fast, Elara, Lumen urged, its voice a beacon in the encroaching silence. Your song is stronger than its emptiness. Remember, the symphony of creation. Lumen projected images directly into her mind, swirling nebulae birthing new stars, planets teeming with bizarre and beautiful life forms, the intricate dance of galaxies, all pulsing with a singular harmonious rhythm. It was a reminder of what she was fighting for, what she was trying to restore. Drawing on every ounce of strength, Elara pushed back. Her hum intensified, rising in pitch and complexity, weaving intricate patterns of pure light and sound that cascaded from Harmonia's hull. The stardust flared, its golden light now a blinding beacon against the encroaching darkness. She wasn't just humming, she was singing the universe's song, channeling its raw, vibrant energy through her own being. The echo nullifier shrieked, a soundless scream that resonated painfully in Elara's mind. Its green pulses spasmed, then began to dim, losing their malevolent energy. Cracks, thin and glowing with golden light, appeared on its dark surface, spreading like a web. The oppressive silence began to recede, replaced by a faint, hopeful whisper of cosmic background radiation, the gentle breathing of the universe. As Elara poured her entire being into the song, the nullifier began to dismantle itself. Not violently, but gracefully, like a flower closing its petals at dusk. Its dark metal components shimmered, then dissolved into motes of light, which then coalesced into swirling patterns of pure energy, rejoining the cosmic flow from which they had been stolen. The sickly green light vanished, replaced by the deep, vibrant blues and purples of the Cygnus Rift, now pulsing with renewed vitality. Exhausted but exhilarated, Elara slumped back in her seat, gasping for breath. The stardust on her wrist glowed softly, its warmth a comforting embrace. The silence was gone. In its place, the beautiful, complex song of the universe flowed around them, clear and strong. "You did it, Ilara," Lumen whispered, its voice filled with pride and profound relief. "You restored the harmony. The song sings again." Tears welled in Ilara's eyes. Tears of exhaustion, of wonder, and of immense humbling triumph. She had faced a cosmic terror and sung it into peace. She was no longer just a girl, she was a conduit, a guardian, a singer of the stars. The journey continued. Under Lumen's patient guidance, Ilara traversed countless parsecs, encountering wonders beyond imagination. She explored shimmering gas giants where colossal bioluminescent creatures drifted like living constellations. She visited worlds where entire civilizations communicated through intricate light patterns woven into the very fabric of their cities. She learned to decipher the ancient whispers of nebulae and to read the histories etched into the crystalline cores of dead stars. Each challenge was different, but each required her unique blend of intuition, empathy, and the power of the stardust. She soothed a rogue temporal anomaly that threatened to unravel a star cluster by singing a frequency that synchronized its chaotic oscillations. She mediated a millennia-old dispute between two energy-based species by helping them understand the harmonic overlap in their distinct life songs. With Lumen as her steadfast companion, she became a force for balance, a restorer of equilibrium, and a beacon of harmony in the vast, often chaotic cosmic tapestry. Her greatest challenge, however, was still to come. One day, as Harmonia drifted through a quiet sector, Lumen detected an anomaly far beyond anything they had encountered before. Resonant echo, Ilara, Lumen communicated, its voice laced with an unfamiliar urgency. "It is the source, the heart of the original song, but it is fractured." They arrived at a system orbiting a binary pair of ancient dying stars. In the heart of the system lay a colossal, shimmering structure, an artifact of unimaginable age and power. It was a cosmic instrument, a vast, intricate network of crystalline filaments and energy conduits that spanned light years. This was the universal lyre, the very device used by the ancient songweavers to establish the initial cosmic harmony. But now, it was broken. One of its primary filaments, a colossal strand of pure starlight, was severed, vibrating with a painful, discordant hum that threatened to unravel the very fabric of space-time. "This is the original wound, Ilara," Lumen explained, its essence radiating distress. "The source of all lingering discord. If the lyre is not repaired, the universal song will eventually collapse into chaos." Ilara felt the immense pressure of the task. This wasn't just about restoring harmony to a small sector. It was about safeguarding the entire cosmos. She approached the severed filament, the stardust on her wrist burning with an almost painful intensity. She could feel the raw, untamed energy, the agony of the broken lyre. "You must reconnect it, Ilara," Lumen urged. "Using your own essence, amplified by the stardust, you must bridge the gap." This was it. The ultimate test of her connection, her purpose. She extended her hand towards the severed filament, the shimmering energy almost unbearable. Her mind raced, fear mingling with a profound sense of destiny. She wasn't just singing a song, she was becoming part of it. Taking a deep, centering breath, Ilara poured her entire being into the stardust. She envisioned the perfect, unbroken harmony of the lyre, the initial song of creation. She let go of her fear, her doubt, her very sense of self, allowing herself to be a pure conduit for the universe's will. The stardust flared, enveloping her hand, then her arm, then her entire body in a shimmering golden aura. As she touched the severed filament, an incredible surge of energy coursed through her. It was pain and ecstasy, terror and profound peace. She felt the ancient melody of the lyre enter her, passing through her very cells, her consciousness expanding to encompass the vastness of the cosmic instrument. She was no longer Ilara, she was a living, breathing chord, a bridge between two broken ends. The golden light intensified, streaming from her body, forming a new, radiant filament that seamlessly reconnected the broken ends of the universal lyre. The discordant hum ceased, replaced by a rising crescendo of pure, unadulterated harmony. The binary stars, once dying, now pulsed with renewed vibrant light. Across the cosmos, every creature, every star, every atom seemed to sigh in collective relief, a whisper of recognition that the song had been made whole again. Elara hung suspended in the golden light, no longer feeling the boundaries of her physical form. She was part of the lyre, part of the cosmic song for a timeless moment. She understood everything, the delicate balance of creation, the interconnectedness of all life, the profound beauty of existence. Then, gently, the golden light receded. She found herself back in Harmonia's cockpit, slumped against the controls, utterly drained but filled with an inexplicable lightness. The stardust on her wrist pulsed with a gentle, steady glow, its work done for now. "The song is whole, Elara," Lumen whispered, its voice imbued with a quiet reverence. "The lyre sings anew. You have fulfilled your destiny." Elara looked out at the now perfectly harmonized universal lyre, its crystalline filaments glowing with gentle, vibrant energy. The universe, vast and wondrous, spread before her, no longer a realm of dangerous secrets, but a boundless symphony, waiting for her to listen, to learn, and to occasionally, gently, contribute her own unique note. She smiled, a peaceful, contented smile that reached the depths of her soul. Her journey was far from over, for the universe would always have new melodies to discover, new harmonies to embrace. But the great wound was healed, the core of the song restored. She was Elara, the girl who had sung the cosmos back to life, and her heart, forever entwined with Lumen and the stardust, was now a permanent echo in the magnificent, eternal song of the stars. The gentle hum of Harmonia's engines was her lullaby, and the boundless wonder of the universe, her eternal dream.